Hi everyone, it's Natalie and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be talking about some of the books that I've read recently. And I also wanted to try out a different angle, even though that exposes my wall of trash behind me. But I just wanted to try something a little bit different. The first book I'm going to be talking about is The Empress of Salt and Fortune by Nevo. In this novella, we basically follow a cleric, I think is the proper name of the profession of this character. And they basically collect stories. They are part of this group that keeps track of almost all information, especially history. So they encounter this character called Bunny, and Bunny starts telling them the story of the Empress of Salt and Fortune. So it's essentially a very short novella that you explore the life of this Empress and her relationships with Bunny and with other characters. I rated this 4 stars. I really like the writing style of this novella. I thought the author chose words so perfectly. Every single word felt like it was chosen with care and with purpose. No word felt wasted, nothing felt out of place. Everything just sounded as if it had always been meant to be told that way. It's really something that I cannot describe further without you actually reading the novella for yourself. It's very much a novella that reads like it's lyrical, but it's not to the point of being so purple in its prose that it's very heavy to get through. It's just the perfect amount of beauty in the choice of words. In general, I really enjoyed this. I don't really think I understood everything that happened. I feel like it has hidden complexity that would take at least one reread to get at the depth of what's going on in this novella, but I still could sense it, I could feel it, and even though I didn't understand everything, I still appreciated and enjoyed my time reading this novella. And although the characters weren't extremely developed, I still felt like I knew enough about them to root for them, to be interested in their lives, to want to know more. Because of course with a novella you can't really expect the most super well-rounded characters that are so intricate and complex. Like, that's not going to happen in a novella, or at least it's very unlikely. So the fact that this managed to offer characters that you could still connect to and be engaged with was fantastic. So yeah, I would highly recommend it to anyone who's into myths, folk tales, fairy tales, that kind of thing. If that's your jam, pick this up. I'm pretty confident you're going to enjoy it, and I'm personally super looking forward to continuing on with this novella series. The next book I'm going to be talking about is Nightshine by Tessa Gratton. Let me get my thoughts together for this book because I loved it a lot. So in this book we follow our main character Nothing, who essentially lives in the shadow of the prince of this land. She is very good at making herself nothing, at making herself invisible, unnoticed, and completely at the disposal of the prince. But that is until one day she starts thinking that there's something not quite right with the prince. So she decides she has to kill him. And when she does, it turns out it wasn't her prince at all, and he's been captured. So Nothing goes off on a journey to get back her prince, along with the Princess Bae, Sky, who is a knight and beautiful. That's not relevant. So they go off together to find the prince, and it turns out they have to go into the 5th mountain where a sorceress who eats girls lives. I rated this 4 stars, and I'm starting to consider that I should have rated this 5 stars. It's the kind of book that the more I think about it, the more I absolutely love it with every fiber of my being, but that in the moment I wasn't fully having the full experience. I loved it, of course, while I was reading it, but it wasn't hitting me as directly as I was hoping it would. So that's why I rated it 4 stars. But ultimately, it's a fantastic book that I would highly encourage everyone to pick up. So, okay, let me try to talk about why I love this. The primary reason is because, well, there's 2 primary reasons. One, it's Tessa Gratton. Tessa Gratton can do almost no wrong in my eyes in her novels. She is a fantastic writer. Her prose is just so beautiful. I love it. I love reading it. I feel like probably if I listened to it as an audiobook while I read it physically, that would be like the peak experience. That would be the peak Tessa Gratton experience. I haven't done it yet, but I'm hoping to do that relatively soon. Anyway, that's not the point here. The point here is that the writing is phenomenal, as it always is with Tessa Gratton. And as it always is with Tessa Gratton, you have an incredibly complex dynamic between characters. Sky, Nothing, and Kieran were an absolute mess. And I adored it. I adored it so much. The three of them are so petty and difficult and so obsessed with each other, and it's amazing. I love reading the character dynamics that Tessa Gratton writes, because she has this fantastic way of making me root for characters that I also kind of want to meet in the pit and fight. Like, especially here with Kieran, that little prince made me want to kick his ass and at the same time give my life for him. So, you know, it's a lot going on. It's a lot of emotions going on. And so I love this. I especially loved Nothing and Sky's dynamic. I mean, what am I saying? I love all of their dynamics. I think they're all, the three of them together are incredible. And once again, I weep that Tessa Gratton didn't give me an OT3 here, because they're all little shits, but the fact that they're not canonically an OT3 makes me want to die inside. But that is because Nothing has another romance going on. But I still feel like the OT3 energy is there. The poly energy is very strong in this book. Like, read this book and try to tell me seriously that you do not see the poly energy in it. If you can't see it, I will not, I can't believe you. I can't trust you, period. So basically I have nothing else in my notes to say because I was just a mess. I was just a squealing mess. So this recreation of me being a squealing mess is the best I can give you. Basically, I would recommend this book to anyone who hasn't read Tessa Gratton yet and doesn't know where to start. I think this is actually a good place to start because it's one of her less dense books and it's still fun. It has a good pace. I actually think this book has pretty good pacing all throughout. So I would encourage it as a way to be like, I'm kind of interested in what Tessa Gratton's doing. So which book should I start? This one, this one. Pick this one up. If you love Howl's Moving Castle, pick this one up. Like, don't hesitate. Don't think about it. Do it. Just do it. You will not regret it. I can almost guarantee it. And if any of you are in doubt that I love this book, I think this says everything. Let me see if I can get it to focus. I tapped this a lot because it's Tessa Gratton. Of course I tapped it a lot. So I just wanted to show you all that because when I really love a book, you'll know because I'll tab it until there's no tomorrow. So yeah, I'm gonna put this book down before I'm just ranting forever and ever and ever and ever and ever and ever and ever. The next book I'm going to be talking about is The Henna Wars by Adiba Jaigirdar. I'm going to be reading the summary of this book because even though it's a relatively simple summary, I still feel like if I tried to say it myself, I would make a mess of it. Nishat doesn't want to lose her family, but she also doesn't want to hide who she is. And it only gets harder once a childhood friend walks back into her life. Flavia is beautiful and charismatic, and Nishat falls for her instantly. But when a school competition invites students to create their own businesses, both Flavia and Nishat decide to showcase their talent as henna artists. In a fight to prove who is the best, their lives become more entangled, but Nishat can't quite get rid of her crush, especially since Flavia seems to like her back. As the competition heats up, Nishat has a decision to make: stay in the closet for her family or put aside her differences with Flavia and give the relationship a chance. I rated this book 4 stars. I thought it was really good. It wasn't quite what I was anticipating, but it turned out to be all the better for it. For one, this is a much heavier book than I was expecting it to be. I picked this up thinking it would be a cute enemies to lovers, sapphic romance. So I was like, let's do it. It'll be fun. But in reality, it had a lot of depth to it. It really talks about racism, cultural appropriation, and homophobia. It really goes into all of those things. It doesn't hold back. So even though it has its cute moments, it's certainly not trying to be cute all throughout. It can be triggering because of that, because it's taking all these topics very seriously and exploring them very seriously. It means that the author isn't holding back on the comments that people are making. So if you're looking for just a cute sapphic romance, this is not where I would point you in the direction of. But that is not to say that I would not recommend this book. I highly, highly recommend this book. It's very good. The romance between Nishat and Flavia was especially well developed because it didn't hold back. It didn't try to pretend like what Flavia was doing didn't hurt Nishat. It didn't try to soften things around the edges. It said, no, this is a serious thing and this is seriously hurting Nishat, so it has to be addressed. We can't pretend like it's not an issue. So beautiful, incredible. We love to see it. We really, really do. So yeah, if you've heard good things about this book, which I'm sure you have, stop resisting it, go read it. The last book I'm going to be talking about is Dominicana by Angie Cruz. In this book, we follow 15-year-old Ana who lives in República Dominicana, and she gets proposed to by this man twice her age, and once they're married, he moves her with him to New York, and it's about her transition from living in República Dominicana to New York. I rated it 4 stars because there was no denying that this was a very good book. It was well written, it was clearly exploring themes, it was intentional. It was just a very intentional novel. So there's no hiding that this is a 4-star book, but it just wasn't for me. Like, I gave it 4 stars. I'm not saying I didn't give it 4 stars. I'm saying that it just didn't have the impact I was expecting it to. This had everything going for it, but historical fiction of any kind is difficult for me to get into, and that does not exclude books set in a city and it being a historical time period. Like, those are very hit or miss for me. I have to say that now that I'm standing in front of this camera talking about it, my instinct is to talk about how this book, it presents such a complex relationship between Ana and her new husband. This is clearly an abusive relationship. He has very low patience. He sexually assaults her because, let's be real about this, they're married, but most of the time she doesn't want to have sex and he rapes her, because there's no denying that. So it's a very difficult book to read, and it only gets more complicated when Ana starts getting close to one of the brothers of her husband, because her husband goes to República Dominicana to deal with some stuff and she's left in this brother's care, and so they start spending a lot of time together. And this brother is younger, he's closer to her age, and so they have this thing going on that I can't also help but think is pretty toxic, because when she's in such a fraught marriage, only has access to very limited human beings because her husband keeps her essentially in isolation. It's just very fraught. So yeah, that, I think, even though that's the most intense part of this novel, it's also the best part of it, because it's just very, very real, and I don't have anything else to say that's more intelligent. So yeah, that's it for today's video. Thank you all so much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. If you would like to follow me on any of my social media, I will have the links to that down below in the description. But for now, see you next time.